hello everyone. We are live from the train office. And sorry, it took a long time to figure out all these electronics. The camera and everything isn't, it's not how I need it to be. So, but let me know if you guys can hear me and if everything is, if you can see. I was going to have 3 different cameras. A camera for me, and then a camera that you see here in the corner. And then I was going to have a third camera that was going to be on the other side of the train layout so you could see more of the train. For some reason, the third camera is not working. I can't get it to turn on, so I really don't know what's wrong with it. I'm going to have to buy another one. But yeah, so let's get some trains rolling. Again, I wish I could show you more of what I'm doing, but I can't because the third camera isn't working, so you can't really see very well what I'm trying to do here. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, I have this train layout. Hello Jeffrey, hello Izzy, hello Mark, hello Eric, Ozzy, Lachlan, hello everyone. So I have this train layout, and for like the last 2 years I haven't been working on it because I've just been really busy. But frankly, we've been using this office as a storage room. So it wasn't until like recently, like the last 2 months, I've slowly emptied out the storage room, turned it back into an office. Even this computer has been sitting here all this time in this room. This is not the same room I do my afternoon tea. This is a completely different room. And so I finally got everything cleared out, everything working again. Had to clean the train layout, had to get all that done. I mean, that took 2 days to clean the train layout, clean the tracks, clean all the cars and locomotives, and get them ready to run. So that's what I've been doing. But I'll get some trains started here. So let's see. Maybe we'll do the freight train since it's the closest one to us. So we'll do that. My chair is also very creaky because this is my old chair that I used to use a couple years back. So if it sounds like I'm farting nonstop, it's not really me farting. Alright, so let's get that going. And then I'm bringing out the 440 locomotive. Man, I really wish my third camera was working. Maybe I can try to get it to work while we're doing the live stream. Okay. Oh, wait, I still need that. Okay. I wonder if you guys can see. Yeah, you can sort of see that from the camera. Alright, here's the tricky part. Let's see if it can pull all this weight. It's doing it. Sweet. That's a lot of weight to pull. So as you can see, I have a separate track for storing each train. I have 3 different trains, 4 different locomotives. Okay. Now I can switch that. Yeah, that one's switched. Cool. Yeah, when I had cleaned the layout and I had everything testing the other day, I was trying to run this locomotive, the 440. I was trying to run it with the passenger train. The passenger train is the heaviest train I have. It's just naturally very heavy. And I couldn't get it to work. So, you know what I'll do? Since... Oh, but you can't see because of my microphone. Well, maybe I can put my microphone down here. That still kind of blocks everything, but all right, I think that's the best I can do. The microphone will be down here, and if I zoom out, you can see a little bit more of the layout, but not much. Yeah, let's see if I can get that third camera working. So, okay, let's see what, well, let me see what people are saying first. Let's see. Eric says, excuse me, who are you, Mr. Train Man? So a lot of people, that's a good question, Eric. A lot of people don't know that before I started the Alex the Historian channel, I started the Alex the Railroader channel. In fact, it's linked in the description below, because this is the last time I will do a train live stream on this channel. I'm going to go back to doing train stuff on my original Alex the Railroader channel. So that's linked in the description below. Feel free to subscribe to that one. If you can't see the link, just know it's called Alex the Railroader. You'll notice that it's got a very similar logo to my Alex the Historian logo, so it shouldn't be any confusion. So yeah, but yeah, that channel is much older than my Alex the Historian channel. Hello, Jeffrey. Let's see, Eric again says, I see you did some work since the last time you showed me your layout. I probably did, yeah. I've been working on it off and on. The rock work for the mountain is mostly done. It just needs plants and water and stuff like that, so I have a lot of the plants, just not all of them. I just need to install them, on the thing, but I'm trying to get all the paint on the layout done first, because paint can be really messy, and the last thing I want is to get paint all over the plants and stuff like that I want to put down. So, Arnaud says hi, or hello, good afternoon for America. It's 10:32 p.m. in France. The mic and cam were okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, it is really difficult to find like a webcam that can do 1080p. It's really weird. I mean, they're out there, but some of them are labeled 1080p, but then in actuality they have a native range of 720. It's really weird. It's probably because people don't really buy webcams anymore, especially because most computers and laptops have them. But since I need multiple cameras on this train layout, I have to make do with what I can. So yeah, oh right, back to the comments. All aboard for Doc Brown. Let's see here. Yeah, the Aussie, the locomotive that I nicknamed Mr. Squeakers, is no longer Mr. Squeakers. I've taken care of that, and now it's going by its official name, which is Esther. Let's see. Ken says, hey Alex, so awesome to see your train up and running again. That mountain looks great. Thanks so much. Yeah, it took a lot of work. And it's not even done yet. Sheridan says, hi, I love your train modeling set. Thank you so much. Let's see. Bridge looks very clean. Did you use a different stain on it? So it's, come to think of it. So there should be two different things. There should be stained wood on that bridge, and then there's a few pieces here and there that have a fresh lumber look to it, because I want the bridge to look like it's actively being maintained. So there should be a few pieces of fresh lumber on there. I don't know where they are by looking at it from here, and on the webcam it's not very easy to tell the difference, but there should be some fresh lumber. If not, I'll have to replace it with some pieces that actually look like fresh lumber. Lachlan says, hey Alex, been a long time since I've seen a live stream. Year 12 now in Sydney, Australia. One more year and school is done. Oh, awesome. I hope it goes by fast. Let's see. Tyler says, looks great. Hope you're doing well. I certainly am. Thank you. Jeffrey says, there's a big model train expo this weekend in Sacramento. I might go. Nice. Yeah, I got a lot of good stuff at the last train expo I went to back in 2019. Connor's Creation says, I've been waiting for an update for months. Did you ever fix up that Christmas locomotive? No, the Christmas locomotive, it turned out that it was done. It was, because somebody, so that Christmas locomotive that I was trying to fix up, whoever owned it last did some terrible things to it. When I opened up the locomotive to look inside and see what was going on, almost all of the connections on it were fried. Like someone had, what's the word? Overloaded it, like with electricity or something. And then I found peanut butter in there. I didn't believe it at first. I thought it must have been a weird brown grease, right? But I put it up to my nose, and it was peanut butter. Someone put peanut butter inside the locomotive, into all the inner workings and the gears and stuff. And so after I cleaned all that, I noticed that there was a lot of gunk, like dried grease. So someone had put a grease that really didn't belong in the locomotive, because these locomotives, they require a very almost like a liquid lubricant. They can't use like bicycle grease or something, bicycle chain grease. They can't use that. But they had put a very heavy grease. It was not even bicycle chain grease. It was like industrial gear and cog grease. It was really thick and gunky and sticky. And it had been in there for decades, so it dried out, and it created a paste that no matter how much, I forget what it's called, but there's a liquid that can generally break it down without hurting the locomotive, because the locomotive has plastic parts. So I tried using something that was gentle on the plastic but hard on the grease. It didn't work. So it was permanently gummed up, and there were parts of it that I couldn't get to. The way the locomotive was designed, I would have had to cut some of the metal to get to it. And so I couldn't do it. I couldn't fix it. And yeah, it was just in such bad shape. So that locomotive, it might still be somewhere in my storage to be used as a prop or something, but it's definitely not fixable. But that's okay, because after that locomotive, I bought the one I really wanted. So the Christmas locomotive, I got that because I thought, I'm never going to get the 440 locomotive that I want, so I'm just going to get this crazy Christmas locomotive, right? It only costed $30. But this locomotive running behind me, that's the 440 I always wanted. And someone was selling it for dirt cheap. They were selling it for $120, which is less than half of what people normally put it for. And the reason why was because it didn't work anymore. And again, usually when I find these locomotives and stuff, they don't work, and I can get them to work. So this locomotive, it just took some basic checks of the wiring. It needed some oiling, so I oiled it. And that was basically it. It was running again. Oh, and the wheels needed cleaning, so I cleaned the wheels. And I got the locomotive to work. So $120 for that locomotive is actually a very good price. And that's the locomotive I wanted all along, from the very beginning. So I have all the locomotives I ever wanted for this layout. I have no desire to buy any more locomotives. I'm set with that. And this locomotive, I don't. What was I gonna say about it? I just had it in my brain. What I was gonna say. Well, it's a trooper. It can haul a lot of cars, as you can see. I think it works really great. So I love it. Let's see here. Let's see. Tweetsy Railroader says, so are you going with a Pacific Northwest vibe with this layout? Yes. Yeah, so this layout, it will be a Pacific Northwest vibe. As you can see, the rock work for the mountain, it's almost black because I'm recreating the volcanic / basalt rock work that you find around here, like particularly Columbia River Gorge, all that kind of stuff. In fact, where I live is on a hill made of this type of rock, so it's actually kind of funny. It's all like basalt. So yeah, and everything that's white on the layout, this is all bare foam that hasn't been painted yet, and it needs to be painted. And so I'll have to work on that eventually, but I want to find a material that will stick really well to the foam, because sometimes with certain paints on the foam, it just comes right off after it dries. Certain areas I've used spackle to fill in holes and things that had to be carved out in the foam, and sometimes the spackle crumbles and breaks off. Well, actually, it's really funny because I used a spackle many years ago that was very rubbery, and it didn't break or crack or anything, and it flexed with the weather. But the only spackle I could find in the local Home Depot was just a regular plaster spackle. I couldn't find that rubbery spackle that I used to use, and so all the spackle on this layout is cracking and creating fissures. So, some things in the Pacific Northwest I can't find, It's really weird. But when I built this layout, that was in California, and back then, in California, you couldn't buy the 3-inch thick pieces of pink Owens Corning foam insulation. You couldn't buy it. It wasn't allowed in California for some reason. It is allowed here in Oregon, but it's too late. I've already built the layout. So it's things like that I have to work with that are sometimes frustrating. Let's see here. Eric says, well, since that one engine had peanut butter in it, now you just need a jelly loco. I don't think they sell brake locos yet. That's funny. Tweetsy Roberter says, who on God's green earth thought using peanut butter to grease a locomotive was a good idea? I honestly don't know what that was. Inside the locomotive was peanut butter. And I don't know, someone had to have put it in there on purpose, because there was no way. The bottom of the locomotive was sealed off with a plastic plate that you have to unscrew in order to get to all the gears and stuff. And right in there was peanut butter. I have no idea. And the only thing I could think of is maybe the guy who took it apart, who had put that weird grease in there that really didn't belong in there. Maybe he was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something and accidentally got peanut butter on the inner part of the plate, and then he didn't notice it, and then, I don't know how he didn't notice it. It was a big gob of peanut butter. And then he went and put the plate back on the locomotive and screwed it on. But I don't know how you miss it. It was a big gob of peanut butter. So, I don't know. That was certainly a first. Peanut butter inside of a model train. Let's see. Tweetsy Rotor says, that is a really good steal. I got my first On30 loco, one of the Bachmann Tweetsy 10-wheelers. Oh, nice. For just $100. It was an incredible deal. Yeah, sometimes you get people who are selling ON30 scale rolling stock or locomotives or whatever, and they sell it for a real cheap price. I have a train back there that you can't see from the camera, but it's a logging train. So there's 3 cars that hold bundles of logs, which are actually made of real wood. I went on a hike and found a bunch of sticks and twigs that, well, not twigs, but sticks that are a certain thickness, and they still have the bark on them of the tree, so it has to look rough. And the cool thing is that when you cut it down to a scale lumber size, or not lumber, scale log size, they look like real logs because they are real logs. They have real bark on them. And so I use those on that logging train. But anyway, the logging train itself, the cars, for the longest time, for like 2 years, I was looking to buy those. But everyone who was selling them for like $200, maybe $300 for those 3 cars. And I'm like, I'm not spending $300 on these cars. So I never did. And then one day somebody was selling them for, what was it? I think $25 each. And that was a steal. It was $75 for the 3, and all the others are going for $200 to $300. I'm like, no, I'm buying it. So I bought the lot of 3 for about $75, and now I have a logging train. So sometimes you just have to check eBay and be real patient, because sometimes you'll find a good deal, and sometimes you have to wait a couple of years to get it. Like this caboose right behind me, this caboose right here. Normally that goes for anywhere from $100 to, I've seen it up to $160 for that caboose. And I really wanted it for the longest time. Wanted it so much that I even started building my own caboose. Put it in this camera. I even started building my own caboose from a kit. And you guys probably saw those live streams a couple years back. I still haven't gotten any farther on it because now that I have the caboose I want, I don't want this one. So yeah, that's kind of funny. It's still in an incomplete state, but you never throw these things away. So there's, so I haven't gotten rid of it because even though I'm still building it, and I don't plan to do anything further with it, you don't throw this stuff away. You could always find a different use for it. So who knows? Maybe one day I will finish it, and it'll just be something that sits for display, or maybe, maybe I don't know, something, but I won't throw it away. It'll still be here. But anyway, I was building this caboose, and then someone started selling the actual caboose I wanted for a decent price. I think they were selling it for $65. And I was like, dude, this thing goes for, median $120. So I'm like, I'm taking it. $65, I'm taking it. So I bought that caboose. So it's one of those things where, like, this hobby is really expensive. But if you're patient and you're willing to wait years for the things you want, you'll find it. These 3 cars, these 3 box cars at the front of the train, each of those can go for about $40, maybe $60 each. I've seen them at $60 each. But I know they're not worth that much. People just sell them at that much. So I went to a model train convention, that they have a bunch of people there that have like a little swap meet where you can buy stuff from other collectors. And this one guy was selling these 3 beaten up box cars. Well, technically 2 box cars, 1 cattle car. And you'll see them come around again. He was selling these, they were all beat up. I mean, you couldn't even use them because they didn't have wheels, they didn't have working pilot trucks, and they didn't have like brake wheels. All the plastic rod that holds up the brake wheel was bent. So, and it was plastic, and it was already partially broken. So I'm like, I can't fix this. I'll have to use a different material. But nevertheless, he was selling them for, I think, $9 each. $9 each. Score. So I gave him the money. And I walked away with all 3 of those. And all I had to do was go home. I bought a couple of extra wheel and truck sets for the bottom. And then I had a special metal rod that I could cut up into the right lengths to create the brake wheel rods. And I did a few other things, cleaned up the cars, and now they look like brand new. And I got them for $9 each, when sometimes they can go for $60 each. So sometimes you just find a real good, deal, is what I mean to say. Wow, I have 111 people watching. This is crazy, because I didn't think anybody would be interested. Again, for those that are watching, normally I would have 3 cameras set up. One on each side for the layout, and then one for me. My 3rd camera is not working. Let me see if I can get that going real quick. Maybe I just need to, like... I was trying to do all that. So let me deactivate that. And then I'll try to plug that back in. There we go. There we go. Okay. Sony camera is back. Alright, so Lachlan says, did you see that the forward and aft mast and boom cranes have been repainted the yellow? They had people on the crow's nest too, painting the interior of it. Apparently they even restored the speaker. So I do know about the main mast at the bow of the ship, because I actually, today, I posted a podcast that had that as the news on the podcast. But I haven't heard of the aft mast or the boom cranes on either side of the ship being repainted. I just know that the forward mast was the one that was painted, and the boom cranes at the bottom of the forward mast. But yeah, that was on my podcast that I posted earlier today, just 3 hours ago. Tweety Railroader says, Bachman, let's see, they can be overpriced. They incentivize you to buy from your local hobby shop. Yeah, I don't like buying from hobby shops anymore. Hobby shops have been super expensive. And I love hobby shops, especially the mom and pop ones. Like a couple cities over, there's a mom and pop hobby shop that I like. It's literally just owned by this old couple. I want to buy stuff from them, but their stuff is so expensive. I can get it much cheaper online, and so I feel bad because I want to support them, but I can't see myself paying for that, that price for those things. Let's see. Let's see. Eric says, I love the amount of handmade work you put into your layout. It's an art form. I love that it doesn't get the fame it, what? Art form. It's an art form I love that doesn't get the fame it deserves. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff on this layout is handmade. The bridge that you see right there, handmade. I did that myself. I engineered it myself too, because it's at a very specific radius curve. Almost everything on the layout is handmade. There's the building behind me, this red brick building, that is handmade. My dad made that. This water tower you see in the background of the main camera, that water tower, handmade by me. I did my own calculations, my own, dimensions for that. Even the snow shed that the train is coming out of, the snow shed over there, that allows snow to slide off of the mountain over the tracks, I did that myself. So yeah, there's a lot of handmade stuff on here. Even stuff that the mountain is blocking. That's why I wanted the third camera, so you can see what's on the other side of the mountain. There's a lot of stuff back there, including a locomotive shed where I keep the two main locomotives. So the locomotive that's running right now is a 440, but I have a Forney style locomotive that everybody knows that I used to call Mr. Squeakers because it squeaked so much, but the squeak is gone. Now I just call it by its main name, which is Esther. And so this locomotive 440 that's going by, I don't think I named it yet, because there's another locomotive that is named Teresa. I don't know if I named the 440 yet. I'll have to think about that. Let's see. So, okay, so I can't fix the camera thing, but maybe in a second we'll switch out the locomotive to the other one, to the Esther. Top Impressive Line says, hey Alex, long time no see. Any updates on your trip to the UK? Yes, it is happening. I'm currently in the process of planning how I'm going to book everything. I have to get a travel agent, but I have the money for it, and plans are going underway. I should be going on the trip in less than a year, just under a year from now. Let's see here. Sheridan says, I really love these trains, and I'm interested in learning about them. Yeah, ask any questions. Ask any questions. I'd be happy to answer. By the way, folks, like I was saying earlier, for those of you who are just here, so this live stream for these trains, this is the last time it'll happen on this channel. The last time it'll happen on the Alex the Historian channel. In the description, I've linked my original channel, Alex the Railroader, and from there we will do live streams on that channel, as well as updates on the railroad and the progress of it being made. There will probably be a lot more live streams than there will be update videos, because updates take a long time to do and a lot of money, but live streams are free. I can do those all the time. So, but yes, and again, that's linked in the description below, Alex the Railroader. So you can subscribe to that channel. And again, I've gotten everything running again, so the channel will start running. Alright, so 5 Caps Films says, hey Alex, since we're on the topic of steam trains, do you know what the Southern Pacific Daylight is? Yes, the Southern Pacific Daylight, I believe, is the 4449. We have one here in Portland, so it's actually not too far from where I am. However, I've never seen it yet. That's the funny thing, is I've lived here for 5 years. I haven't seen the 4449 yet. But the 4449 Daylight is also my friend Eric's favorite locomotive. So Eric was just talking a little bit earlier. He's the one with the name Ericland Entertainment. That's his favorite locomotive. Tweetsy Road says MSRP is short for manufacturer's suggested retail price. Yes, I know. I just, earlier when I read your message, I skipped over it because I'm trying to like read quickly because I get a lot of comments. But yeah. Lachlan says, good to talk with everyone on them. Feel like there haven't been that many this year compared to the previous years. Wait, oh, so sorry, I must have skipped a message. Any future tea times on the way? Like them very much, so calm and so interesting. Good to talk with everyone on them. Feel like there haven't been that many this year. Yes, so tea times, the reason why there haven't been that many this year is because we've had a very warm year. And I only like to do tea times on cooler weather. In fact, I only like to do most live streams on cooler weather, because otherwise I am hot and I am sweating and it's just very uncomfortable to do those live streams. Particularly because, with the tea times, I have to brew tea. I don't like drinking hot tea on a warm day, and I don't like drinking cold tea ever. I never liked cold tea. So, yeah, so I haven't done many tea times. Also, the tea times, they take me an hour to set up. Literally an hour to set up a tea time live stream. Whereas a live stream like this, I literally just plugged everything in and started the stream. It took me maybe 30 minutes, but that's only because all of the equipment and everything was in the other room and I just had to move everything over. But yeah, so the tea time streams, those are really a hassle for me to do. And then after the tea time stream is done, then I have to go wash everything, because all the whole tea set, everything has to be cleaned. It's a mess. It's a mess. So, but there will be more. I can't schedule it out because sometimes I'm really busy on Saturdays and I have to do some other kind of video or something. But there will be more. Yeah, so let's see what other questions we got here. Connor's Creation says, why did you choose ON30 over HO scale? Very simple answer. ON30 has better steam locomotives, in my opinion. My favorite steam locomotives are the little ones, the two-axle driver locomotives. So if it's got driving wheels and it's on only 2 axles, I tend to love those engines a lot more than the multiple axle giant steam locomotives. And if you want to get engines that small, in HO scale, your only choice is a 440, and those don't haul very many cars. You'd be lucky if they haul 2. And I like hauling a lot of cars, so I found out that ON30 has the locomotives I like. It has Forneys, it has 440s, and it has Porter-style locomotives and logging locomotives. And they are very efficient at hauling lots of cars. This 440 here is hauling 6 cars. If I wanted a 440 and HO scale to do that, it could only maybe at most haul 3 cars. They just, for some reason, don't have enough heft and enough weight. Now, I used to be into HO scale and also N scale. In fact, the locomotive you see on that shelf up there, that's my dad's. That one on the shelf is my dad's. That is the Challenger locomotive. That's an HO scale. And we have run it on this layout before just to see how it works. And it works fine after all these years. It's over 20 years old. Well, it's actually like 26 years old. That's how old it is. but it runs fine. But anyway, but yeah, so the other thing about running steam in ON30 scale, no rubber tires. So if you want to run steam in HO scale or N scale, those locomotives weigh so little that they have to put these rubber tires on the wheels in order to give it grip, in order to give it friction to pull cars. And problem is, those rubber tires leave tons of dirt and soot on the rails, and then eventually the rubber tires wear out, and you have to replace them. And they're the hardest thing ever to replace. So for all those reasons, I was like, what's the smallest scale I can get that use just regular steel wheels, and yet can haul a lot of cars? ON30. And I fell in love with it. I was like, ON30, that's my perfect scale. And it's small enough that I can build a layout and keep it in my apartment, but it's big enough that it doesn't have things like rubber tires that I have to worry about all the time. So that's why I chose ON30. To answer some more questions here. Yeah, so next time I do this live stream, I'll have a third camera for you guys. A third camera to show you the other side of the layout. I'm gonna buy a new camera, and that way you can see both sides of the layout, and it'll be great. You guys you'll love it. You'll love it. So, and again, the next live stream will be on the Alex the Railroader channel for the trains. So all the train stuff from now on, Alex the Railroader channel. Oh right. Oh, I think I must have scrolled upwards because now I'm looking. Mateo, hello Mateo, good to see you. Arnaud Scandium says, would you visit Clydebank on your UK trip? I want to, but we need some good reasons to go, because I'm also dragging along my friend Chris, and he goes with the flow. He'll do most things that I'll go and do. So if I want to see a museum or something, he'll usually go with me. But if we're going to deviate from our course, because our course is going up to Edinburgh, if I'm going to deviate from that and go all the way to Clydebank, we have to have a couple of good reasons. So it can't just be that we're going to arrive in Clydebank and, you know, walk out over where Queen Mary was built. There has to be more stuff. So if anybody could recommend a list of things to do in Clydebank that would give us good reason to deviate from our course away from Edinburgh, then great, let me know, because then I'll put that on my list and we'll see if we can do Clydebank, because I think we'll have the time. We'll have the time to do Clydebank, but we just need good reason to spend the money to go out to Clydebank from Edinburgh. Alright, so Sheridan says, congratulations, you'll love the UK. I do hope you'll travel to different locations in this beautiful country. Please take your time, get some rest, don't rush to the UK. So, yeah, so Sheridan, we'll be doing different things. So far on the list for the UK, Southampton, because that's where we arrive. Southampton, Bristol. And the next stop, I'm trying to decide. I don't know, but the next stop I'm trying to decide. Help me figure it out, folks. Either Liverpool, Manchester, or Birmingham. I need to know that, because that's the next stop away. For big cities, that's the next stop north from Bristol. I don't know which one to choose. Liverpool, Birmingham, or Manchester. So help me decide that on that too. And then from there, we'll go up to Edinburgh, and maybe Clydebank if we have good reason to go there. And then there's a lot of stuff we'll do in Clydebank. There's a lot of stuff we'll do in Edinburgh. I mean, lots of stuff. I have a lot of things planned. Then we'll go south. We have a friend that lives just outside of York, and he's offered to let us stay there for a couple of days. He's going to drive us around York, drive us around some other local cities in that area. He's got a lot of stuff he wants to show us. So then from York, we're going to go down to London. And we'll be in London for almost a week. There's a lot of stuff I want to do in London. And then from London, we're going to go to France. We're going to see Paris, and then for me and Chris, we're going to do Disneyland Paris, because on this Alex the Historian channel, I also have a lot of Disney subscribers. They love the Disney content, so I'm going to go to Disneyland Paris, and originally the plan was, after Disneyland Paris, then we were going to go to Mont Saint-Michel, which is along the Normandy region on the coast, and stay overnight on Mont Saint-Michel. And we're still going to do that. Then afterwards, it's going to be Utah Beach to see where the D-Day landings happened. And then we're going to go to Cherbourg, and then go back to the UK from Cherbourg. However, it turns out we have more time than we originally thought we did. We have time to see more than just that part of France. Where should we go? Should we go up to Germany? Should we go up to Belgium? What should we do? I don't know, because I didn't originally plan for us to have this much time. We have something along the lines of 3 weeks. Little over 3 weeks, actually. Yes, little over 3 weeks. So I'm like, what am I going to do with all that time? So I want to try to squeak in an extra country. I'm also thinking Amsterdam. There's a lot of cool stuff there. You know, it's no longer the crazy, wacky city that it was known for. There's a lot of museums and things in Amsterdam, as well as the fact that there's lots of, like, well, now that I want to think about, like, what to do in Amsterdam, I don't know, but help me decide, folks. What should we do? We have more time. We don't have to go back to the UK right after, you know, Disneyland Paris. We can go somewhere else, and I'm trying to figure out where should we go. I don't know that I want to go to Spain. That's the only thing. I don't know that I want to go to Spain. Yeah, I don't want to get into it. I just don't want to get into Spain. But anything north of France is a possibility. So let me know what you think we should do. But then anyway, after Cherbourg, we cross the channel back to Portsmouth, UK. Portsmouth, there's lots of cool stuff. They got the wooden sailing ship that they have closed up. It's not coming to my brain right now. They have a wooden sailing ship. They have Navy ships. They have Navy submarines. It's such cool stuff in Portsmouth. So I'm excited to go to Portsmouth. Then from Portsmouth back to Southampton, and then Southampton back to New York. And it's on the return trip to New York that when we're going to stay in New York for an extra day, and I'm going to see the 9/11 Memorial, and then we're going to see some other things like maybe Central Park and stuff. I don't plan to spend a lot of time in New York, to be totally honest. There's just a handful of things I really want to see, and we're going to go and see them. But yeah, so folks, if you've got ideas for me for the UK that is somewhere along that line. Oh, I think we're also going to do a voyage, a day trip on the PS Waverley. The PS Waverley. So that'll be, we might do that near Scotland, we might do that near London, depends on where it will be when we get there. But yeah, folks, if you can help me decide, should we go to Liverpool, Birmingham, or Manchester? It's got to be one of those three, and there's got to be a lot to do, because we're going to spend at least a full 24 hours there, at least. So I want there to be a lot of things to do and see, especially if it's something I can make a history video out of. Yes, I know Liverpool was the city of ships, lots of steam, passenger liners were there, but if there's something I could literally go there to look at and enjoy, that's even better, because I can film it. It's different if I just go and walk up to the water and film the water, and I'm like, hey, everybody on the camera, this is water, this is where people used to embark and disembark. That's not enough. I need more. So it's got to be like several museums or several locations. So help me out with that. Let's see. Wow, 183 views. Oh, wait, I'm getting that confused with concurrent viewers. So there's 23 concurrent viewers, but 183 views so far. Okay. Let's see. Top impressive line says, Alex, back in August, me and my family took a trip to Kingston, Ontario to visit the SS Keewatin, since it's only about an hour and a half from where I live. Beautiful ship and interior. I wanted to see the Keewatin as well. Yeah, now it's in Ontario. I don't know if I'll ever go there. So, but that was the plan. During the pandemic, I was going to send my friend Chris to Keewatin to do some filming of it. And he actually went out to where Keewatin was supposed to be, but they weren't allowing people onto the Keewatin at the time. It was still closed for the pandemic. So that was unfortunate. I think that's an opportunity that neither of us will probably get again. So, because they don't plan to go back out that way. I don't plan to go out that way. So Keewatin, unfortunately, is something I'll never be able to see. Tweetsy Railroader says, so do you have a backstory for your railroad? I.e., why was it built? Why was it built to serve? Yeah, so the backstory of this layout is that this is a combination passenger and freight railroad that serves the outlying communities in the Willamette River Valley. And so there's lots of forests, lots of mountainous terrain and stuff. But the idea is that the trains come into town, and it's like a whistle stop. They go there, they drop off supplies, maybe they might change out supplies and things. There's different kinds of freight that runs through the area. There's livestock, there's ore, there's logging. So there's different kinds of stuff, and the little trains are just meant to take goods that are kind of dropped off at this whistle stop and then move them to outlying communities. And so that's the storyline of this, basically. Sheridan says, do you take trips on steam locomotive trains? I'd be open to it. There's, like, for instance, when we go to Edinburgh, there's a railroad just north of Edinburgh, like the same railroad where they filmed, like, the Harry Potter train going over the bridges and stuff. I want to take that train. There's a train that runs on, it's not the same Harry Potter train, but it's a train that runs on that line, and I want to do that if I can. So if there's a steam heritage railroad in the UK that is in the areas that I will try to go to it. Like, for instance, outside of Bristol, they have a heritage railroad. The only thing is I don't know how I'm going to get to that heritage railroad because it's far enough outside of Bristol that I can't walk there, and I might have to take a train to get to it. But the thing is I have to balance, is it worth it to take that train outside of Bristol to see that heritage railroad, which only runs for a mile. It's only got 1 mile of track. So I'm like, I have to balance whether it's worth it to do certain things. So, Steve, hey Steve, good to see you. Extraterrestrial Exchange says, I love it. Eric says, have you ever been to the California State Railroad Museum? You'd love it. I know I did. I've never been to the California State Railroad Museum because that's in Sacramento, and I've only been to Sacramento once in my life. So, but yeah, I haven't been to it, and I don't know that I can. Honestly, it's not within my means of being able to get there. So, I don't think I'll ever be able to see it. But yeah. Arnaud says Liverpool, Titanic, Olympic, and I guess Queen Mary. They got Liverpool, I think. Yes, so yeah, those ships went to Liverpool, but it's that fact alone is not enough for me to go to Liverpool. I need more. I need more reason to be there. So Arnaud says, sadly, I'm in the north part near Belgium. In the future, I would travel to the Queen Mary and other stuff like her, but I don't know how to travel That's the problem. Oh, I see. Mateo says, I mean, the Welsh Highland Railway isn't too far from Liverpool. I mean, that depends on what you consider too far. I mean, if it's like 2 miles outside of Liverpool, I'd be like, oh, that's not bad. You know, I can get there. But if it's like, you know, if it's like 20 miles outside of Liverpool, I don't know that we'll be able to do it. Because it's not like we're renting a car. So we're not renting a car and driving around the UK. We're taking public transportation to get around the UK. And we need to be able to do that wherever we go. Five Caps Home says, the White Swan Hotel in Alnwick, UK has Olympics wood paneling. Yes, they do. Unfortunately, the White Swan Hotel is too far away from anywhere we're going to be, so I can't go there. It's just too far away from any of the spots we're going to be at. But I will be in Bristol, and in Bristol, they have a bar that is decorated with the wood paneling from RMS Mauritania's main lounge. So yeah, they have it's called the Mauritania Bar, but yeah, it's got the wood paneling from RMS Mauritania's main lounge in that bar in Bristol. So I'm going to see that if I can. Eric says, your trains run so smoothly and they don't derail. My trains had a 1 in 10 chance of derailing when I had my layout, probably since it was sitting on styrofoam and not wood. Yeah, I mean, that's also, well, I wouldn't say it's because, so Eric, I've seen your railroad before. The styrofoam lays pretty flat, but the reason why your trains were derailing is because you were using Easy Track, Bachmann's snap-together Easy Track. And because it's made with plastic, a heavy amount of plastic, over the years, those warp and bend upwards and downwards. So some of them will be down, some of them will be up. And because of that, the trains go like a roller coaster all the way around, and that's what derails them. My tracks are glued down, so they are perfectly flat, and they are also soldered together. The rail joints are soldered together, so they're basically welded together. And so there's no gaps in between them, because gaps are another thing. If there's too far of a gap between the rails, the wheels will catch that gap and derail. So there's no gaps on my train tracks. So that's the reason why mine's run so smoothly, as well as the fact that I have good electrical connection. So a lot of people who run trains on layouts like this, their trains will kind of stop and start as they go along the track, and that's because of poor electrical pickup. But I cover the rails. Where is it? I can't find it. I think I probably put it away. I cover the rails in a type of material called NOV ID A Special. And it's a type of electrically conductive grease that is designed for being put on the rails. And that gets run around the entire layout, all over the wheels and everything of the cars and trains. And it creates a wonderful electrical connection. And it also protects the rails as well from corrosion and things like that, because they will tarnish. These rails have a nickel silver on them. They're designed not to tarnish, but they do tarnish. They oxidize. And so this type of grease, when you put it on the rails, it doesn't allow the rails to oxidize very easily. And so I have extremely good electrical connection between the trains and the rails. And so I can't recommend enough that product. NOV ID A Special. You can get it on Amazon. It's great if any of you guys run trains at home and you're always frustrated because your rails are always dirty and you have to scrub them clean all the time. I no longer scrub my rails. I haven't done it in years. I just use the NOV ID. I put it all over the rails, and I think maybe once every year I have to wipe the rails to clear dust, because they accumulate dust, and the dust can gunk up everything. But other than that, if it wasn't for the dust, I'd never have to wipe the rails, ever, because the grease stays on it and protects it. So I love that stuff. I love that stuff. And the trains run smoothly, as you can see. And you'd think, oh, well, if you grease the rails, then the trains can't pull anything. Well, you don't put too much of it. And as you can see, my trains are running fine. There's no wheel slip or anything. You just got to know how much to put on the rails. But yeah, let's see here. Arnaud says, sadly, you can't go to Titanic Belfast. No, it would cost too much to go over there, and then only just to see like the museum and Nomadic. I mean, if we did go there, we'd stay at the Titanic Hotel. But my friend Chris has been there, and he's like, honestly, Alex, he's like, you're not really missing much. There's not really much to do. He goes, once you see the museum and once you see the Nomadic, that's pretty much it. You're done. It's over. And you've traveled all that way and spent all that money. And he's like, he told me, he's like, honestly, he's like, I think if they had a little bit more to do there, he's like, it'd probably be worth a visit to go. So I had to agree with him. I was like, yeah, I can see that being the case. Five Caps Film says, my favorite scale of trains is G-scale that are really big, and I prefer big things. Yeah, the G-scale trains are really cool, and in fact, my friend Eric has a really cool G-scale locomotive. It's a replica of the Chloe. Eric says, gasp, it was the track? Well, one, I get my layout back, I'll do my track like yours, or something similar. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you do what I do, you'd have to have a permanent layout. Because I can't pack up this track and put it away. It's permanently glued down, and it's permanently welded together. So, yeah, if you do what I do, you can't put it away. You can't just be like, oh, I'm done with it for today, and pack it all up and put it in the garage. Like, it doesn't work that way. These are glued down forever. So, but yeah. Tweetsy Railroader says, does your railroad run on standard DC or DCC? I'm not sure if your railroad necessarily needs multi-train operations. You're correct. It does not need multi-train operations. The layout's too small, in my opinion, for multi-train operation. So I actually run DC. And the reason why is because literally half of my locomotives, I have 4 locomotives, half of them are only DC locomotives. And the other 2 have DCC capability. But the thing is I'd have to rewire the whole layout for DCC. And then even then, a DCC controller costs a lot of money, and all that money for, I don't need to run multiple trains. There's only room for one train at a time anyway on this layout, so I don't. And I honestly don't miss it. I don't need the sounds of the train puffing and chugging. I don't need the sounds of all that. I like listening to the cars just clicketing and clacking down the rails, and that's enough for me, so I'm happy with it. But yeah, it's just a regular DC layout. Let's see. Five Caps Film says, honestly, I prefer diesel to steam. Oh my. Eric says, have you ever been interested in G-scale trains? Make your own railroad in a garden. Ooh, I want to do that. You know, I'd be interested in that, except I don't have a house. Like, I have an apartment, and I live on the 2nd floor, so I don't see myself building an outdoor layout. But if I did have a house for some reason, not that I want one, I actually don't want a house, but if I did have a house, and I had a lot of room in the backyard, I would build a outdoor model railroad, and I would practice using G-scale trains and stuff like that. I'd do it. But I don't see myself ever having a house. I don't want one. I prefer building model trains, because I'd have to build the models differently if I built them for outdoors. I'd have to make them much more weatherproof than they currently are. I don't feel like doing all that. So it is a lot more work. But my friend Steve, Expedition Steve, he wants to build an outdoor model railroad, and I've offered to help. I said, you know, like if you ever get the stuff together and you want, you know, help doing it, like I'll help you. He lives in Idaho, so like I'd have to travel all the way to Idaho and stay with him for a while to build it. But I think that'd be fun. You know, it'd be my first time building a garden railroad, but I think it would be so cool because he has a huge backyard. Like he's got the room for one, so I think that'd be really neat. Lachlan says this live stream is great, very interesting. Hope it can go on for longer. I've got time. I can keep running. In fact, I wanted to switch the trains out because you know you've been seeing the same train going around and around over and over again. Someone says, Alex, didn't you say there were some videos about San Francisco coming? I remember hearing that, although I could be wrong. You're right. There is a video about San Francisco that I'm working on. I don't have it scheduled yet because I'm currently... So, I don't know if you guys remember, but earlier this year, I had the worst problem with my channel. Nobody was watching my videos earlier this year. It was just dead. And I was this close to having to call it quits on this channel because nobody was watching my stuff. And it's not sustainable to keep doing that. I can't earn money that way, so it's like I need people to watch my stuff. And so earlier this year was the worst it's ever been in the last 9 years. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out what I'm going to do to get the viewers back. And so I ended up, it just so happened that the 70th anniversary of Disneyland was coming up. That was back on July 17th. And I knew I wanted to get a video out in time for that. And I posted my Disneyland video, and it went like viral, basically. It was really popular. So, you know, and so from there I was like, okay, well, there's my viewers. So I've been making Disney content to try to satisfy those viewers and to keep the views going and grow the channel. Because if I can grow the channel, I can get them interested in other topics. But I can't get them interested in other topics if there's no one there to watch the topics. So what I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of Disney content. And I'm trying to maintain some of that thread with the Ocean Liner community by posting my podcasts. You know, I can't do trains on this channel anymore because for some reason the people who watch the train stuff in general, I'm not saying you guys, but in general, the people that watch the model train stuff, they're not interested in the Ocean Liner stuff, they're not interested in the Disney stuff, and they're not interested in the stuff about cities like San Francisco and New Orleans. So that's why I decided, I'm like, I'm going to move the train stuff to a separate channel because that's like really what I can do. And so right now, what am I working on? The next video to come out is going to be about Walt Disney. And then after that, I'm going to post a Queen Mary video, which will be the first Queen Mary video I've done since like earlier this year, which is pretty crazy, how long it's been. And then after that, I think I can do the San Francisco video. So San Francisco video, that'll probably be early December. But I hate putting a date on it because I end up like not doing it at the times I say I'm going to do it. So it's almost like I jinx myself by saying, oh, I'm going to do this at this time, and then I can't get it done in that time. So, yeah. But yeah, this month, 2 videos. A Walt Disney video, and then a Queen Mary video. And then start of next month, I think, San Francisco. But I'm going to be doing a Disney history video every month. Because that seems to be where all the viewers are. That seems to be what people are interested in on this channel. So, yeah. So, okay. Pan American World. I'll get to your comment in just a second. Let me change out the train. So, I'm going to back this freight train into its storage area. Wow, that runs so smoothly. I can make the train crawl. Like, as you can see, it's going super slow right now, but it's still moving. I can do some amazing stuff because the electrical connection is so good that I can make the train just move real slowly and very smoothly. Okay, so let's reverse that. I like to reverse slow because I've noticed that if I try to reverse very quickly, I can derail the train. So now you can see the train backing into its storage area. I'll usually stop it right there real quick so I can uncouple the cars. There we go. And then what I'll do is the cars will be uncoupled, but now I can push them with the locomotive into the spot they need to be. Here we go. And now when I move the locomotive, it's not attached to the train. Maybe, you know what I'll do? I'll run the ester real quick. Oh, wait, I gotta switch tracks. So right now the locomotive is going to back up into the locomotive shed. I have a separate shed for storing these two locomotives. I actually wish the shed was big enough for 3 or 4 locomotives, but I literally don't have enough room on the layout for one building that can hold all 4. I've had to separate them onto different tracks. But the locomotive shed does store 2 locomotives. So now with these switches down here, there's switches back here, I can actually shut off the power to that specific locomotive, and the switch next to it in the middle, if I turn that on, that starts up power to the other locomotive. Okay. And now you'll see the ester locomotive come out. It's a Forney style locomotive. Okay. And then I'm going to go have it pick up the passenger train, which is, you can't see it from here, the mountain's blocking it, but it's behind 2 different sets of mountains way in the background. So I have to go around the layout to switch the track back there, because it's manual switches. And then, so let's run this in reverse. And then I'll go back there. Okay. So you can see the 440, I'm sorry, not 440, it's a Forney style locomotive. Reversing. It'll go out of view from you guys, but it's going to hook up to the passenger train. There we go. And then once it clears that, I have to switch the track back so it doesn't derail as it goes around. So just a moment. There we go. Now back to my seat. There we go. So, and that's much quieter than the other one. I think that's only because the cars are heavier, so they create less of a loud steel wheel sound as it goes around the tracks. So it's quieter because the cars are heavier. But this passenger train, you'll see it come around the corner, is the heaviest train I have on this layout. Each of those cars is so darn heavy. And I've tried to lighten the load over, the course of time that I've had them, but it's just not easy. So here they come around the curve. And you probably can't tell, but they actually light up. So there's lights inside of them. So they actually light up. That's part of the reason why they weigh so much, is because there's electronics inside them. But yeah, it's a heavy train. It's crazy. And I think the 440 can pull that train, but not when the rails are freshly greased like I just did the other day. So I could probably wait a couple of days, and then the 440 should be able to pull that train around. But at the moment, the rails are just a little bit too greasy for the 440 to pull it. So, let's see. Let's go back to some comments. Sheridan, thank you so much for the donation. Sheridan says, love your train town. Does it have a name? Yes. So the train layout itself is called Tumble Rock Canyon Railroad. And it's named after this canyon that the train's going over right now, because the rocks tend to fall down the canyon. And the town is called... let's see if I remember what the town is called. I'm pretty sure the town is called Hill Creek Hollow. Yeah. If I remember correctly, I named it Hill Creek Hollow. So, yeah. Okay. So, Pan American World says, I recommend you watch this YouTuber called The Unlucky Tug. He into Thomas the Tank Engine, but has a big series on model railroads. I think I've heard of him. Yeah, I think I've heard of him. Jacob, On30 scale model train, says Monday the 10th, I believe, is the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a Great Lakes freighter. Yes, I've heard of that one too. Eric says, I miss the days when I'd hang out with you at Disneyland so much. Hard to believe it's been 8 years since I first met you. Man, we're both old now. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we were both so young. It's only been 8 years, but it feels like much longer because we both look very different than we did 8 years ago. And we're both in very different situations than we were 8 years ago. So it's crazy. But yeah, I miss you too, Eric. Don't worry. We'll hang out again at Disneyland sometime. Lachlan says, Alex, did you get the 6-7 thing? People saying it at school. I don't understand it at all. It's silly and driving me crazy. So I have heard of 6-7. I think it's silly. I don't understand it, but I think that's probably the point of it, is you're not supposed to understand it. It's just something you say. I think that's what it is. But yeah, it's silly. And kids, they say silly things. I could be like one of those, old people and say, oh, but in my day, slang actually meant something. Because 6-7 doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't have, a definition. It's just a word-ish thing. A wordish thing. And what's crazy is that dictionary.com named it as their word of the year, but 6-7 is not a word. It can't be defined, and it's not in any dictionary. But dictionary.com named it the word of the year. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Same thing with that skibbity toilet thing. I'll never understand that. I'll never understand it. Arnaud says, I enjoy watching your channel. I discover your channel with the Queen Mary. I also I want also to say that RMSQM Wiki is awesome. There are a lot of coming soon articles, but still great. Never stop. We enjoy watching you, Alex. Thank you so much, Arnaud. Yes, on RMSQM Wiki. So generally, every page that you see on the wiki has something on it. It's just that there's so much about the ship that there's no way I can finish it even in a year. Honestly, I don't think that website will ever be finished because there's so much about the Queen Mary that we actually can't finish the website. It's just something, it's ongoing. So yeah, there are a lot of spots, especially when you surf the whole website, you start to notice a pattern that there are areas that say coming soon. And that's because, again, it's like we have a little bit of everything on every page. So like for instance, if you're like, oh, I want to know what was on D-Deck of the Queen Mary. What is D-Deck? What was on it? Then you can go on the website, go to D-Deck, and there's a couple of things that we've already put. You can learn about certain things. But then the article's not complete. It'll say like, oh, this section and this section is coming soon. And again, that's because it's like we have to do the research as we're making the website because the whole website has sources that are cited. So we have to be able to, if we put information down, we have to be able to say, well, here's where we got the information. That way people know it's accurate, or at least as accurate as it can be. But, it's one of those things that it's never going to be complete. We're always just going to be continuously working on it. And frankly, that website is over 2 years old now, and we've been adding to it every month. Every month we add new stuff to it. In fact, if you want to know like what new stuff is added, on the main page of the website we have a section called What's New, and it often just, we pick and select articles that we think are the most interesting that also happen to be brand new. But it doesn't mean that's the only thing that's new. So there's like a lot of stuff on C-Deck, for instance, that we added to the website. Lots of stuff. But we only named like 2 of those things on the front page, even though we added like a whole deck worth of stuff for C-Deck. So it's an interesting website. There's a lot of stuff that belongs on there. So let's see. Five Caps Film says, I remember when I first saw Alex's channel in 2022. Over time, your videos got me interested in the Queen Mary. Also, to me, your videos are very rewatchable. Thank you so much. Actually, that is exactly what I was going for. There's a lot of YouTubers who their goal is to make very good one-time watchable videos, and they're good at it. They're like, okay, well, here's a video, you see it once and you're done, right? And that's cool, but I think you can make a much more successful channel if you make the video rewatchable. That's why a lot of my videos have a high entertainment factor to it. So while my videos are educational, they're designed to have some heart and soul with it. They're designed to tell a story. You can talk about history, but you can put it in a story format that makes it interesting to hear. And so that's another thing too, is when I started my YouTube channel, one of the things I wanted to do differently was that a lot of other YouTubers, what they do is they list you a bunch of facts, almost like bullet points on a notepad, right? You watch their channel and they're like, in this year this happened, in this year this happened, and in this year this happened. And it's cool, but it's not rewatchable. And honestly, sometimes when you tell history like that, I think the younger audiences think it's boring. They go, oh, well, this is history, it's so boring, and they don't want to sit there and listen to bullet points. So to try to maximize the audience I can get, I try to tell it in a storytelling format. I find a way to tell it in... I try to find a way to introduce the concept. If it's a person, I introduce the person. If it's an object or a place, I introduce that. Then I find the conflict. What's the conflict of this? And then I move on into a resolution. And sometimes the resolution is a sad one. Like with the SS Princess Louise, that's a video I have on my channel. For those that don't know, I've done a video about the SS Princess Louise. And that one was done in a storytelling format, but the ending was not a happy ending. It was sad, in my opinion. And that's because when I read about the SS Princess Louise, when I read about history, I think, how can I tell this as a story? And with the Princess Louise, it came off as a murder mystery, kind of. I mean, it's not so much a mystery, but it was a tragic tale. And so I thought, well, how can I convey this to show how tragic it was? And so that's what I do, and that's what kind of made my channel different amongst the history channels, is that I tell things in a storytelling format. And so I try to do that with everything because that's what interests me. That's how I get interested in history. But I've also noticed that it's worked with other people. They've found it to be super interesting that way. So I'm glad that that my videos are rewatchable, because that's exactly what I was going for. So sometimes I find myself rewatching my own videos. So I think they're fun. I think they're entertaining. Arnaud says, also, sorry if I ask too many questions for stuff of the Queen Mary, or else I'm kind of nervous to asking questions in the same topic every time. No, feel free to keep asking questions, just as long as it's not the same question every time, but I haven't seen you asking the same questions. You've been asking a lot of really good questions, but it's good. I like answering questions. I like being able to talk to people, so keep asking. Yeah. Eric says, man, I wish my layout worked like yours. It's so efficient, easy to use. Yeah, my layout is really efficient and easy to use. And my layout is designed to kind of wear out the wheels on both sides too, because you can't see from this angle, but the tracks are actually kind of shaped like a beam. So you're seeing the straight edge on this side, but on the other side of the layout is a curve that kind of goes inward like this. And it's designed so that way the train makes a left turn, because it's making a lot of right turns, as you can see it. As it goes around the track, it's making a bunch of right turns. But you also want to try to wear out the wheels on the other side equally. So I've designed a left turn into it, and you can't see it from this angle. That's why, another reason why I wish the other camera was working, because then you could see it. But yeah, next time I do this stream, I'll have a brand new camera to show you the other side. Let's see. Oregonian Rail Fan says, greetings. Alright, we've been on this live stream for 1.5 hours, but I think we can stretch it a bit more because it's fun and I don't have anything else to do. So, let's see. Mateo says, I look almost exactly the same as I did when I first met you 8 years ago. Yeah, Mateo, you haven't changed much. you pretty much look the same as when I first met you, which is wild. No, Eric, you look pretty different than how you did 8 years ago. When I met you 8 years ago, Eric, you looked so young. I mean, it was crazy. But now you look like an old man, especially with your white hair. You got white hair. So much of white hair over the last 8 years. It's crazy. Let's see. Oregonian Real Fan says, is that a UP articulated loco in the background. No, the one on the shelf in the background is my dad's Challenger locomotive. So it's a Challenger. Well, I guess that does make it an articulated locomotive, doesn't it? Sorry, sometimes I'm not used to the lingo. Because I usually work with small locomotives that don't have articulation. So sometimes I forget and I'm like, wait, are they talking about like you know, I was picturing one of those locomotives that have like oh, I can't even describe it. But yeah, I think you're right. Yes, it's an articulated locomotive. It's the Challenger. Hey Alex, why did you have a hard time doing N-scale steam while others had it better off? Because a lot of other people that do N-scale steam don't do small steam. They do big steam. So people who do N-scale steam, they usually do like giant locomotives, right? So we're talking like 8, 10 driver wheels, you know, like big locomotives. They do. Some people have like Mikados or Challengers or big boys in N-scale. But I don't like those engines. I like the tiny ones that have only 2 axles, right? So for me, that would be Forneys, Porters, and 440s. And you can't get Forneys in N-scale. They don't sell them. They've never made them. They've never made a Forney in N-scale. Porters, they have the giant switcher porters, but I don't like those. I like the little porters, right? The narrow gauge and stuff like that. They don't make those in N-scale because it's too tiny. And then they do have 440s in N-scale, and I have 4 440s in N-scale. I have them in a box somewhere. Do I have my box here? No, I think the box is in my bedroom. Is it? Maybe it's here. I don't see it. So no, I don't think my box is here, but I have 4 locomotives in N-scale. I bought them all brand new, right out of the box, right? The first 440 I owned was designed to look like the CK Holiday from Disneyland Railroad. And that train is awesome because mine ran for 10 years. It used rubber tires for grip, but I was able to replace those rubber tires over time, and it ran great. But then after literally the 10-year mark, the locomotive just wasn't doing well anymore. It was old. It was old. And so I was trying to replace it with other 440s just like it. Same brand, same style. So the first one I bought, besides the CK Holiday, so I guess it's the second one, didn't run right out of the box. I put it on the rails and it could barely pull itself. So that was an immediate waste of money. So I set that one aside and bought another one, right? Each of these cost about like $100 at the time. And this was 10 years ago. So I bought another one, a third one for $100. I put that on the rails and it could pull one car. One car. It couldn't pull any more than that. It just wasn't strong enough. The wheels slipped. It just didn't have enough grip, enough weight, and it just didn't work. So I bought a fourth one. Another $100. Bought a fourth one because there was something about it. I'm like, why does the CK Holiday style one work, but the others don't? So the fourth locomotive, I bought that, put that on the rails. Another situation of it could barely pull itself. Barely. I was so mad. That was $300 down the drain. And so I put all those nice and neat in a box, and I've kept them all this time. I still have them. And then it's funny, a couple months ago, I found one of the guys that helped design the CK Holiday 440, and it was made by a company called Atlas, right? So I was talking to him, and I said, hey, you helped design the Atlas 440, that's specifically the CK Holiday one. He goes, yeah. I said, you know, my CK Holiday Atlas ran for 10 years, was able to pull up to 10 cars. Up to 10 cars. And I told him, and I said, but the other 3 Atlases, the ones that were not designed to look like the CK Holiday, I said, they're the same exact size, same scale, same everything, just different paint color. I said, why could those, at most, pull 1 car, and that's it? I said, what was it? And they didn't run for very long. They had very poor electrical pickup and all that. And he wasn't specific. All he said was, we worked really hard on the CK Holiday one, and it was the only one of its kind that ran very well right out of the box. I wish he was more specific, because I would have loved to know what they did differently about that one. But, yeah, I don't know. For some reason, the CK Holiday Atlas 440 in N scale is the only one of those 440s that runs efficiently, pulls a lot of cars, and like I said, mine ran for 10 years. I loved it. Never had problems. In fact, if you guys go to my original Alex the Railroader channel, you will see videos of my CK Holiday running. I have lots of old videos from like when I was a teenager running that locomotive. And yeah, that's on my Alex the Railroader channel. And again, when I do live streams in the future of this train layout, it's going to be on that channel, no longer on the Alex the Historian channel. So this is the last live stream of the train layout on the Alex the Historian channel. So be sure to subscribe to Alex the Railroader. The link is in the description below, as well as you can just look it up, Alex the Railroader. But anyway, yeah, so that's why I don't do N-scale steam anymore, because I don't like the big locomotives. I only like the small ones, and they don't have them in N-scale, and the only one they do have is the 440, and it doesn't run very efficiently. So I have no interest in N-scale anymore. No interest at all. So that's why. Where were we again? Oh, right, okay, so that's TFFC Studios. Okay, so Eric says, when I was 19, when I first met you, not as many gray hairs, slightly dumber than I am now, and well, still a good goof. Actually, Eric, you were 18 years old when I met you. Yeah, you were 18, not 19. But yeah, you were very young looking. I was like, who is this kid? But Oregonian Rail Fan says, questions build community. That's the fun of it. Yes, I've always found that to be the case. Questions build community. Pan American World Airways says, do you collect or have any celebrity autographs? I have one of Princess Aurora's voice, actress Mary Costa, and a few other ones. I don't collect celebrity autographs. Particularly because I've never been able to get an autograph from a celebrity. I've met celebrities before, but only as when I worked at Disneyland as a guest relations host. That's when I met celebrities, and you weren't allowed to ask for their autographs or their pictures or anything like that, because when you're on the clock, your job is to not bother them. So I've never gotten a celebrity photo. I've never gotten a celebrity autograph. I think the closest thing to celebrity I've ever gotten is I got Bob Gurr's autograph. Bob Gurr is the former Imagineer who pretty much had a hand in any ride at Disneyland that had wheels. The old saying goes that if it's at Disneyland and it has wheels, he probably had a hand in designing it. And so I met him back in 2019 thanks to my friend Jason, who invited me to go with him to a special Haunted Mansion event. And so I got to meet Bob Gurr, got to take a picture with him, got to have a quick little chat with him, and then I had him sign a pair of Haunted Mansion 50th anniversary Mickey ears. I had him sign one ear. Oh, and then I met Garner Holt, who is the head of Garner Holt Productions, the company that used to make animatronics for Disney. His first animatronic that he made for Disney was the Jack Skellington animatronic for the Haunted Mansion Holiday back in 2003. And then he made other animatronics for Disney, even all the way up until the Cars ride in 2012. Anyway, so I got Garner Holt's signature on the other Mickey ear of the same hat as Bob Gurr, and I love that hat. It's sitting in my closet at the top of the closet so it doesn't gather dust, because there's less dust at the very top of the closet. But I love that hat, and I'm so proud of getting both of their signatures, and they're not celebrities technically, but I can't imagine, you know, any other celebrity's signature that I could want. So let's see here. Mateo says, I must have aged a bit, though, because now people guess I'm 17 instead of 15. I'm not kidding yet. Mateo is like almost 30, and he looks like he's 17. I'm not even kidding. It's crazy. Jeffrey says, do you have any Disney Easter eggs in your train layout? Do I have any Disney Easter eggs? Actually, yes. The, where is it? The water tower there. I made that as an exact replica, well, sort of, an exact replica of the Frontierland Station water tower at Disneyland. So it's the same dimensions and everything. I copied the dimensions and I designed it all myself. I had to take measurements of the water tower at Disneyland to make it happen. But it's an exact replica by technicality. The only difference is that it's not the same color. I changed up the color to make it look... Because one at Disneyland it's painted brown, but it's roughed up around the edges, so it looks very rough, looks like it's multicolored, but it's technically brown. This one is not. This one is like stained wood color. And it looks really great up close. I wish I could show you up close what the water tower looks like, but in the main camera you can see the water tower. But yeah, that is an exact replica of the one at Disneyland in terms of dimensions and design. The freight train that I was pulling earlier, before I pulled out the passenger train, the freight train is in the same configuration as the original Disneyland Frontierland train. So the Frontierland train, it was pulling 3 cattle cars, 2 gondola cars, and 1 caboose. The freight train on my layout is pulling technically 2 boxcars and 1 cattle car, then 2 gondola cars and 1 caboose. So same configuration. I can't think of any other Easter eggs on the layout, and I can't think of any that I'll be putting in because there's, the layout's not done yet. But I can't think of any other like Disney Easter eggs that I'll be putting into the layout. I don't think there will be. But Oregonian Rail Fan says, seen any steam locos outside Disney? Oh yeah, of course. I've seen lots of them. Oregonian Rail Fan says, we've got so many here in Oregon. The passion thrives. I'm currently in the process of becoming a volunteer to work with steam locomotives. Much like Queen Mary, the fascination of steam power is amazing. Yeah, I agree. I know the first steam locomotive I saw when I came to Oregon was, I want to say Sophie? Or is it Sarah? Or Sally? Maybe it's Sally. It's the, what's the engine called? It's the, I don't remember what the type of engine is called, but it's a logging locomotive that sits right outside of right outside of Washington Park. So right outside of Washington Park in Portland. And I don't remember what the engine's called. It's a type of, the class of engine, I can't remember. It's a logging locomotive of some kind, but the name, it's 3 cylinders, and the cylinders drive an axle. Well, I can't remember what kind of engine it's called. I don't remember, but that's the one. The first one I saw in Oregon. That's the first one I saw in Oregon. But yeah, I've seen lots of steam locomotives outside of Disney. It's just that most of my favorite types of steam engines exist at Disneyland. The only other like steam locomotives I really like outside of it, like for instance, I really like the 168 on the can't remember the name of the railroad. It's in New Mexico. There's a railroad in New Mexico, Heritage Railroad. It's part of the original Denver and Rio Grande railroads, part of the original. And they have the number 168, and it's really cool. I love it. It's a 460. Looks really cool. So I really like that one. And then there's locomotives from the one of the main 2-footer Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington Railway. I like their locomotives and their cars. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trains that I like outside of Disney. It's just that my favorite kinds of locomotives all happen to be at Disneyland, so it's like, it's a combination of like my favorite trains. It's crazy. So, Mango says, "Hey Alex, is that a Union Pacific big boy on the shelf behind you?" And Oregonian Railfan answered, "It's a Challenger." Yes, it's a Challenger, and it belongs to my dad. My dad bought that in 1998, and it's funny because he never ran it until I set up this layout here in this room, and I got the layout cleaned up and everything, and we ran the Challenger, and it was really cool. But that was well over 20 years after he first bought it. Almost 25 years after he first bought that engine is the first time he ran it. But it was so funny, it was so cool. So we ran it on this layout, because this is, even though this is ON30 scale, the tracks are HO scale tracks. And so we were able to run that Challenger. Lachlan says, "Any new video projects or like outings you plan to film or live stream, e.g. like new or Lens live streams were great, more like them." Any new video projects? So, like I was telling people earlier, the next video I'm doing is about Walt Disney, and then after that I'm doing a video about the similarities between Queen Mary and Titanic. That video I'm doing because the people at Queen Mary want to make they want to make a tour, a Titanic tour on the ship. And I was speaking to the head of tours, and she was like, "Yeah, we'd like to know like what on the Queen Mary is directly related to Titanic, so we can make a tour out of it." So I'm going to make that video. That should help. And then after that, I'm going to do a video about San Francisco. That'll probably be in December sometime. And I think after that, there's just going to be a lot more Disney videos. And then there's also going to be videos about the origins of just cities around the U.S. or around the world. I mean, it depends on what information I can gather, because it does take a lot of research to make videos about that stuff. But yeah, that's probably going to be the continuation of, Disney, Queen Mary, and cities for like the foreseeable future. Trains will be on the Alex the Railroader channel. And I'm doing the UK trip next year, late next year, so we've still got almost a full year before that happens. When I do the UK trip, I'll be able to make content based off of what I see and do in the UK, historic locations, all that kind of stuff, but that's almost a year away. So there is plans for the future. It's just that it's in the far future, basically. I have to plan that. Isn't that crazy? I have to plan this stuff like a whole year in advance to like what I'm going to do for the channel a year from now. But in terms of projects, I am currently working. Oh, I guess this is interesting for all you railroad people. So my friend Preston, he currently has a digital video game. It is a super accurate replica of the Disneyland Railroad. So basically, it's from 1955, but you can run the locomotives like a real steam engine on your computer. It's that accurate. It's the only video game in the world that accurately represents running a steam boiler with the physics and everything. It's the only one. And so he's had that out since 2017, but he wanted to update it and make it more modern with, like, you know, Unreal Engine 5, make it super realistic looking. And he also wants to add more years to his Disneyland. So he's got 1955, but he wants to do different years, like the 1960s, the 1970s, 1980s. And I told him, I said, I'll help him. So basically, I've been making computer models of the train cars. Like, I just finished doing all of the 1955 freight train. I'm currently working on the 1955 passenger train. And then after that, I'll be working on the 1958 excursion train. Then I'll be making all the buildings for Disneyland in 1955. Then I'll be making all the buildings for Disneyland in 1959. And then we're going to continue on with 1967. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. And that's a project I'm currently working on. And yeah, so that's something I've been working on the side. And then, of course, I have RMSQM Wiki, the online Queen Mary Encyclopedia. I always keep that updated. So I've always got projects. I'm always working on stuff that I have to do. And I've always been busy. I would keep myself very busy. So, and now I've got this model railroad that I'm resuming work on very slowly. It's not going to happen quickly, but you know, so I'm always busy. Always busy. Let's see. They have a Shea in Washington Park. Yes, the Shea. That's the one I was looking for. Yeah. The Shea, I want to say is named Sally or Susie. Something like that. And that's the one I saw when I first came to Oregon. Oregonian Railfan says, I've been collecting ocean liner artifacts for the past year now. I have many from the Cunard sisters and Olympic. Recently I picked up a Queen Mary coffee urn. She had her whole service life. Just got it. Nice. Sheridan says, are you sailing on the Queen Mary when you visit the UK? There and back home to USA. Yes. So I don't like being on airplanes, but even less, I don't want to be on an airplane across the Atlantic. So I am sailing from New York to Southampton on the Queen Mary 2. And then on the way back home, I'm sailing from Southampton to New York on the Queen Mary 2 again. So it's going to be super expensive, but it's going to be like a trip of a lifetime. A trip of a lifetime. So, so yeah, I will be on the Queen Mary 2 both ways. I'm excited. I'm super excited for it. Arnaud says, small question about the main lounge. Will they restore the first class main lounge dome above the circular windows? There is also air conditioning plant nearby. They want to restore the main lounge because the wood wall paneling in the Queen Mary's main lounge is all water damaged. In the sense that there's like buildup of, what do you call it, mildew. So the wall panels aren't so damaged that they look permanently disfigured or misshapen. But they do have a haze of white on them from the mildew, and that can be sanded off of the panels, and then the panels can be revarnished and stuff like that. I don't know if they will do that, though. They want to. It's just that the veneer that is on those wood panels is so paper thin that if someone just presses too hard with their rotary sander, they could actually like carve a hole right through the veneer and into the plywood behind it. And that would look very ugly. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do about it, because it's a big risk. You have to have really skilled workers for that job, or else they're going to sand away all the veneer, and you don't want them doing that. Oh, right, same question. I was like, didn't I just read that? Let's see. My family immigrated via the Olympic. I have a chunk of her first-class smoking room roof and some other wood-related stuff from her. Means a lot to have, considered I wouldn't be here in the U.S. without her. Oh, that's very nice. Have you heard of Century of Steam being devolved? Best train-related game I've ever seen in the works. The attention to detail and getting to control steam diesel exactly as you do the real stuff. Being devolved. I don't know what that means, but yes, I've heard of Century of Steam. I am waiting for it to come out because I want to try it. But yeah, it looks really interesting. Nick, no, it's not a Heiser or a Climax. It was a Shea. Oregonian Railfan says, any plans to continue the Queen Mary Lost Spaces series? Love to see what you're not supposed to. Yes. Yes, so the Queen Mary Lost Spaces, I'm going to restart that series with my friend Shiloh. So we're going to redo it. I just need to figure out how. I want to make it more entertaining. But I need to figure out how, because it's a lot of technical information, and it could be very boring if it's done wrong. So I need to figure out how we're going to redo it. Yeah, that's about that. Let's switch out this train for the we'll switch it out for the logging train, because I haven't run the logging train in a very long time and it needs to be ran. So we're gonna bring this one over here. Man, it runs so smoothly and no squeaking. Love it. Alright, so I'm going to do my little trick here. What I do is I uncouple the cars from each other, but I do it in such a way that they're not coupled, but when the locomotive backs up, it can push the cars all the way back without connecting. And I like to do that for putting away the trains. So that way it just saves me a lot of time, because if I have to push the cars by hand, I can derail them. And I don't like doing that. Alright, so there we go. Now I gotta switch the track. Alright. Now I just run this in reverse very slowly so I don't derail the train. Because right now, the couplers are not coupled. but they're pushing each other at an angle like this. And if I push too hard, it'll push the first car right off the track. So, yeah. So just lift that back up. There we go. Perfect, and now I can run that forward. And then I will go switch that track back. And then we'll put this locomotive away. Because again, with a DC layout, I can't run more than one locomotive at a time because I don't have precise control over them when I run more than one. So a locomotive will always have to be put away before I can get another one going. So that's being put in the locomotive storage house. Now I just I have to switch this track. There we go. And with one of these switches down here, I can turn on power to the Porter engine, and I can run that one. It's going to be really hard to switch these tracks once I have all the buildings and trees in place because it's, yeah. So I'll run that one a bit slower than usual. I'm just going to see like how it's running because with this one sometimes the wheels can slip. So there is a bit of wheel slip because it's a heavy train. But I think it just needs to run around and around a few times and it'll stop slipping. Thankfully the rails are slightly greased, which will prevent the steel from wearing away. But that grease should kind of become more tacky as the train goes around and around. Yeah, like right now there's no wheel slip. But what was I saying about, I can't remember what I was going to say. Something about the train layout. Oh, right. So, none of the track switches are automatic. They're all manual. And the reason why is because I looked at doing automatic track switches, but they're not cheap. It takes a lot of wiring, a lot of work. I would have had to carve through the fascia of this table, which I feel bad about doing because my friend Expedition Steve, he built this table for me, and it's a really nice looking table for the train layout. And so every time I have to carve a hole through it or something in order to install like electronics or whatever, I feel really bad because it doesn't look as nice as it used to. So I didn't want to install switches, particularly because there's about 5 track switches on the whole layout, 5 of them. So that would have meant 5 physical switches to install on this fascia. I just didn't want to do all that. So, so I put them all manual, but now that means in order to switch the tracks on the far end of the layout, I have to reach over the layout to physically switch those tracks. And that's not easy. I had originally designed this layout so it would look good from every angle. Because some people, they design their layouts so it only looks good if you're in the front of the layout, not behind it or to the side of it. But mine is designed to look good from all 360 degrees. Because originally I had planned to put this train layout in the middle of a room. Instead of, right now it's against the wall. But I had designed it to be put in the middle of a room, and the whole layout is on wheels, so I can roll the whole thing around. But my office is actually a pretty small room, and there isn't really any room to put the layout in the middle of the room. So, yeah. But the layout is designed to be transportable, so the legs of the table and everything can fold up, and the whole layout can be carried on its side. That's how it's designed. So, I don't know, we'll see. It's a very versatile system, the way I designed it. Arnaud says, Queen Mary is very difficult to restore. When we look closely, the swimming pool and the main lounges, the bowl places, boilers, or either the teak decks, hope the ship would be ready for the 2028 games. I think it will be. I think it will be. I mean, I wouldn't expect some crazy changes. Like, I wouldn't expect, you know, boilers to be reinstalled on the ship, for instance. Like, that's a bit much. Like, they're not going to do that, and they can't get that done in just 3 years. So I wouldn't have super high expectations. Just imagine that the ship that currently exists as we see it will be more beautiful and run more efficiently than it will right now. And that'll be 3 years from now. And of course, there won't be a submarine out front. So, Oregonian Railfan says, if you're ever in Portland, Oregon again, please do pay a visit to the Oregon Rail Heritage Center. They have the famous Southern Pacific Daylight 4449, such a glorious locomotive to see up close, number 700. Yeah, I live just outside of Portland, and you're right, I haven't seen the Pacific Daylight yet. I don't have a car, I can't drive. I used to drive when I was younger, but I can't drive because of my schizophrenia. So I can't get to the Oregon Heritage Center myself. I'd have to go like with a friend or family member, and it's difficult to get them to have the time to do that kind of stuff. So I do want to see the Oregon Heritage Rail Center, but I mean, it really depends if I have the time. I'm going to slow this down because I think now it's going kind of fast. Yeah. Mateo says, it's very nice to see the railroad up and running again. I assume you mean mine. Oregonian Railfan says, I personally appreciate you replying to every comment. I can't say how many streams I've been where the host pays little to no attention to the comments. Hard to want to keep returning. Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing even in the comment sections of my regular videos. I try to respond or at least show that I've read every single comment because, you know, I too watch a lot of YouTube. Well, I watch what I think is a lot of YouTube, but I don't think I watch nearly as much YouTube as some people do because they recommend me these channels that I've never heard of before. I'm like, what? How have I never heard of that? But I watch what I think is a lot of YouTube, and I've noticed the same thing. There's a lot of people who have YouTube channels who don't acknowledge the people on their live streams, who don't acknowledge the people in the chats. I can't get to every single comment because, as you can see, sometimes there can be up to 50 people on this live stream at the same time, all chatting with me at the same time, and I have to try to like rush through all the comments, so I can't get to everybody, but I try to get to as many as I can. And the same thing with the YouTube comments. I get hundreds of YouTube comments per day because I have well over 500 videos on my channel. So each of those videos is still getting views. And so as you can imagine, I get hundreds of YouTube comments every single day. And I can't keep up with all of them, but I try my darnest to get to as many of them as I can possibly get to in a single day. When this live stream is over, I'm going to check my phone to see if my podcast has received any comments that I posted today. So the podcast I posted today. Mateo says, I fully understand the merits of shelf layouts, but there's just something so satisfying about a layout with wide open vistas like yours. Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, that's one of the things, too, is I could have saved a lot of space by building a shelf layout, right? Like, I really could have. But I knew that I would be moving constantly. Like, you know, I mean, it seems that in my life, I tend to switch apartments every couple of years or something, or, you know, or maybe I need to make space for something, so I have to move the train layout. And so I knew that whatever train layout I have, it has to be portable. Especially because one day I would like to take the train layout to like they do these model railroad exhibitions where you can go to like a like a convention, and people can sign up to display their model train layouts. And I want to do that someday. So that's another reason why I had designed the layout to be portable, was so that way I can do that. So yeah. Let's see. Lachlan says, is it autumn in America? Nice trees colored you. The trees shed leaves in Oregon. I think I'm in California. They don't. I'm not sure, as I'm from Sydney. Oh, I see. Yes, right now it is autumn in the U.S. And yes, in Oregon, we have very dramatic autumn colors. So all the trees right now are in fiery shades of red, orange, yellow, and some are purple. And it's beautiful. I was just on a drive yesterday, actually, and it was absolutely beautiful. We were driving through all these beautiful Oregonian neighborhoods. There are some really picturesque neighborhoods around here. Like, it's like a neighborhood where all these cute little houses from, like, 100 years ago were built. And it's this tiny little neighborhood with these tiny little trees that are all in their fall colors right now. It's beautiful, man. And it's surrounded by these giant Douglas fir trees. We have Douglas firs everywhere because that's the tree that grows naturally around here, is Douglas firs. So it's a beautiful landscape. And we have lots of hills, lots of fog, lots of clouds and stuff. And it looks, I know that sounds really gloomy, but it looks so beautiful. I know that some people really don't like gloomy weather. I do. And especially up here in the Pacific Northwest, gloomy weather looks so cool. I love it. It's just, oh man. I love when I'm looking and you can see in the background hills, one hill behind another, behind another, behind another. And in between those is fog. And it's so cool. I love it. Arnaud says, the boilers were too expansive. You have to replica the boilers, the uptakes, the lower funnels, and even the fan rooms. The cost would be colossal. Yeah, it would be. Oregonian Rail Fan says, Oregon fall is beautiful. I love the state very much. Yes, me too. I never liked living in California. I didn't like anything about it. And a lot of times, I won't say everybody, but generally the consensus in California is like, the people aren't very friendly. Not that people are evil or anything there. Like, I'm not going to go so far to say that, but I didn't like California because, like, for instance, here in Oregon, if I go on a walk or something, if I pass by people, people will look at me and smile and say hello. I love that because that's what I do. I smile and say hello to people as I pass by them. You know, people say good morning or good afternoon or whatnot. In California, they don't really do that. I used to go on hikes and jogs and stuff like that a lot, and no one acknowledged you. You kept to yourself. And the other thing, too, was that it felt like a lot of people in California, that people I had just met, that, I don't know the word, but they don't see you as another human until they get to know you. So you're just like, what do they say for like video games? You're an NPC. You're just like a part of the Matrix. You don't have a real life, and no one cares about you until they meet you. Whereas up here in Oregon, it's different. Like I said, people are immediately friendly to you, and they want to talk, and they want to ask you how your day's going, and it's amazing. I've been able to strike up conversations with random strangers because they just want to talk. They want to like get in conversation. They immediately see you as another human being. I love that about Oregon. I love the people of Oregon. And the other thing, too, is I love the Oregon weather. I love the landscapes. It's just absolutely beautiful. I hated California because where I lived in Orange County, near Disneyland. So I grew up near Disneyland all my life. And I did love Disneyland, but it's expensive. Even if I lived in California still, I don't think I could afford to go there all the time. Nor do I want to. It's so busy, and it's just crowded, and oh, yeah. So anyway, but the thing about living in Orange County was that it was a concrete jungle. It was like, there was hardly any greenery and scenery. It was all concreted over, and it smelled like smog. I hated it. I was developing coughing problems in Southern California. I didn't realize it. I had a reoccurring cough when I lived in Southern California, and it was just like normal for me, so I didn't really care. When I moved up to Oregon, the air up here is so clean. I never had that recurring cough ever again. And it's just wild. And there's so much greenery. I live outside of Portland, so not in the city. But where I live, there's like a river next to my apartment complex, so I can go out and walk along the river. There's a river trail with trees. There's a forest nearby. Not 5 minutes walk away is a forest. I can just walk up to there and just look around. It's beautiful. On certain days, I can look out the window of my dining room and see Mount Hood. It's like wild. I can look out the window of my dining room and see Mount Hood. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. I never want to go back. So yeah. Especially because I live on a hill. That's what makes it easy to see Mount Hood. I live on the top of a hill, and so I can see over the other hills and see Mount Hood. But back to the weather again, like, in Southern California, not very many trees change with the weather. So when you get into like fall, you hardly notice a difference from summer in Southern California. Fall and summer look so similar. And then winter, the only reason why winter looks different is because generally there's more clouds and more rain. But not a huge difference, not a very obvious difference. So when I came up here to Oregon, every season is extremely different from one another. The springs are beautiful and flowery and bright. The summers are very green and warm, but not too hot. In Southern California, it was consistently like 105, 110 degrees sometimes for weeks on end. But up here, it's like at most 90 degrees throughout summer, which is a lot better than 105. And And like I said, the seasons are so different here. You know, fall time, it's like the landscape is on fire with these beautiful colors. And then winter, all the leaves are falling off the trees, and the trees are all twigs and stuff. But it looks great because then we get the snow. And it's like, snow. That when I moved up here, I had never experienced being in snow before. And so I remember my first snow being up here. It happened late at night. It happened at like midnight. And this was in 2020. And so I left my apartment because I was in a different apartment at that time. And I took a walk at midnight around my apartment complex. And again, we're near the forest, so we're kind of far away. So it was this beautiful scene of being amongst all the trees and the natural landscape, and it's snowing silently. You know what I didn't know? Snow makes a sound when it falls. I didn't know that before I moved up here. So you can, if it's quiet enough, you can hear, it sounds like grains of sand landing on a hard surface. That's what snow sounds like when it falls. I was like amazed about that. So I loved it. I got to make a snowball. I've never done that before, but you know, make a snowball. So that was cool. I love Oregon. It's getting late. I should probably end this live stream soon. Oregonian Railfan says, I don't blame you. I lived in Arizona half my life, just returned to Oregon within the past year. The heat and lack of scenery really took a toll on my mental health. I'm a very big nature person. Yeah, same here. Portland born. Oh, nice. Mercenary says, you are just talking about SoCal and on their attitude towards people. That doesn't happen so much in the north and other areas. Yeah, you know, it's probably because I was so close to LA. You know, like I lived in Orange County and I visited LA quite often because it's right next to LA. And it's very much a giant metropolitan region. And so maybe it's because it's cityscape that people are used to living in cities and they stick to themselves. They don't socialize very much in cities. Maybe it's because, you know, moving up north to Oregon, for instance, and I live outside of Portland, so it's more of a homier atmosphere. But even in Portland, I don't recall people treating me like I was invisible. Like, I can recall being in LA and Orange County, most people treat you like you're invisible until you try to get their attention. But here, people acknowledge you. They see you, you know. It's hard to describe, but, I mean, even in Portland I feel that way. So, I don't know. But yeah, that was kind of my experience in Southern California. Oregonian Railfan says, I envy that. I love Mount Hood so much. It's cool. You know, I was trying to go up to Timberline Lodge one time. My dad and I were driving up the road to Timberline Lodge, but we ran over a screw on the highway. We were probably just 2 miles from Timberline Lodge, and we ran over a screw, and it immediately started draining the air from the tire. So we had to turn around and go back. So I still haven't been to Timberline Lodge yet. I really want to because one of my favorite horror movies is The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And the exteriors were, some of the exterior scenes were filmed at Timberline Lodge. In fact, the set piece of the hotel exterior was designed to look like Timberline Lodge. So yeah, I really want to see Timberline Lodge. Arizona was like that too. No seasons, just summer and slightly less hot summer. Yeah, exactly. Ron, how's it going? Hope everything is well with you. Yes, it is. Thank you so much. Mateo says, my first snow in Oregon was amazing. I did have to learn that there are different kinds of snow and you can't throw snowballs every time. Yes, there are. Apparently, yes, there is different kinds of snow. I agree. Hey Linda, how's it going? Hello Alex, was taking a nap, so missed the first part. I think I need to move to Oregon as I have bad asthma in California. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I had that cough in California. I didn't even think about it. I didn't realize I had it until when I moved up here and I stopped coughing on a regular basis. I was like, wait a minute, I must have had a recurring cough because every week for years I just have this like cough, and now I don't have that living up here. So very, very clean air. Let's see. Arnaud says, would you create a Discord server in the future for talking about trains, Queen Mary, or Disneyland? It would be very interesting. I've tried in the past to make a Discord server, and yeah, lots of people joined, but Discord servers really aren't my thing. I can't dedicate too much time to it because, for one thing, people who would join my Discord servers, I've created 2 in the past. They really, really want to talk to me. They join the servers to talk to me. But the problem is that when I'm not doing a live stream or something, I'm super busy. I'm usually editing a video. I'm usually doing research or doing something else entirely. You know, I'm usually doing some kind of project or something. And I can't get in conversation with people while I do that because, for one thing, I can't multitask. I'm horrible at multitasking. But the other thing, too, is that I get in a zone when I'm working on something. I'm in the zone, and if I have to switch to conversation, it pulls me out of that zone, and I lose my momentum on whatever I'm working with. So I've learned I don't think I can do Discord servers, as well as the fact that, I mean, you know, I'm starting to notice more and more that Discord servers are becoming a nasty place where people say and do nasty things, and I'm kind of like, I'm starting to notice it a lot more, and I'm like, I don't want to be part of that. People, you can't control what someone else is going to say or do on a Discord server. I mean, you can boot them out of the server, but you can't stop them from talking to other people and doing, you know, private messaging. And some of those people can be bullied, some of them can be harassed, and I'm just like, I don't want to be part of that. My goodness. So yeah, that's why I probably won't do any more servers in the future. It's just, yeah. I mean, I know some people have had some really good experiences with servers. You know, it's a great place to have conversations with people that are like-minded and stuff like that. But yeah, my experiences with servers has been negative. Oregonian Railfan says, down in Tillamook, we have had the McLeod Railroad number 25 seen in the film Stand By Me, such an adorable little logger. Yeah, I think I've seen that one. I've also seen the movie Stand By Me as well. Yeah. Alright, folks, I think that's going to do it for this live stream today. We've been on for 2 hours, well, a little over 2 hours, actually. I think it's been probably about 2.5 hours by now. But I do have to get going and, you know, try to do some other stuff. But from now on, these live streams for the train live streams will be on the Alex the Railroader channel. So the link is in the description below, but even if you can't find the link, it's just Alex the Railroader, and you'll notice the logo is similar to my Alex the Historian logo. So that's where all the train stuff will be from now on. And now that the train layout is running again, at the very least, I can do live streams, if not updates on the layout. And just expect more Disney, Queen Mary, and Origins of Cities kind of videos on the Alex the Historian YouTube channel. And, yeah. So thank you all, everybody, for joining. It was really wonderful to be able to talk to all of you guys again and to see my friends in the chat as well. So thanks, everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.